Hi, everyone, and welcome to the NYEMSC's 2024 Program Director panel. For those of you who don't know the NYEMSC, we are an organization that is dedicated to creating programming and getting information out about emergency medicine to medical students and graduates across New York State, and to a lesser extent, across the country and the world. I am Brendan, I am the chair, and along with Alora, our vice chair, I will be moderating this panel and discussion tonight. Oops, there we go. Okay, so to give you a quick introduction to our board, so I am the chair. You will meet Alora, our vice chair, when she is running the Q&A portion of this panel. Feng does our social media. She created all those lovely flyers that many of you probably scanned to RSVP to this event. Garrett has been creating some fantastic programming for this year having to do with advocacy of medical issues on a policy level. And of course, we have our fantastic liaisons who are probably the reason that many of your emigs told you about this event. So just as a quick introduction, once I'm done sort of introducing what's going on, we are going to have 17 programs. I'll give you their best elevator pitch of what makes their program so fantastic and unique. And after that, we will have time for questions, both from the RSVP form and from any that you ask in the chat. So some quick expectations. Just make sure that your mics stay muted if you're not presenting, just to avoid any interruptions. And for PDs and APDs, so Alora will be, during your sort of elevator pitches about your programs, Alora will be in the chat giving you sort of 1-minute warnings and letting you know when 3 minutes have passed, just so that we can stay on track a little bit better. And I'll do my best to have, a quick trigger finger as you tell me to go to the next slide for anybody who sent me, more than a few slides. But we'll try and keep it rolling as best we can. And to any students in the chat, feel free to ask questions. We will start with the questions that we've already fielded from the RSVP form. But if we run out of those, then we'll start looking in the chat. So before we get started, board, did I miss anything?
No, I think we're all good. Yeah, again, I'll just put a 1 minute and a 3-minute reminder. So at the 3-minute, you have 1 minute to wrap up, just so we can make sure everyone has time to speak. So yeah, looking forward to hearing about all of your programs.
All right. Thank you. So moving roughly from west to east across the state, starting off, we have Rochester. Dr. Bodkin, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon and evening, everybody. Welcome. I'd like to thank the council for putting this together. It's a ton of work to get this all organized, so we appreciate the time and effort you put into this. And to all the applicants and students out there, you're going to hear from lots of programs out here that really have wonderful programs across New York State, and really trying to find the best space for you to fit, and what you really need out of a program is really what's important about this process. And all the programs that are presented today are going to be phenomenal. But a little bit more about our program specifically, little QR code in the top right corner, that should get you to our website if you want to take a deeper dive into any of the things I'm talking about. And I'll also throw my email in the chat later to allow you guys to contact me for any questions. But we're a 3-year program located in Rochester, New York. We're a pretty big program. We have 14 residents per year, and we're a PGY 1 through 3 program. University of Rochester does most of their emergency medicine at Strong Memorial Hospital, which is like a big, massive quaternary care center that's located right in the city of Rochester. Our residents do most of their emergency medicine time there. We're a stroke center, trauma center, cath center, cancer, peds, all the things that you'd expect out of a big quaternary care center. And we're really busy. We see approximately 117,000 patients a year. So a really big, really busy ED. We're also a transplant center and ECMO center as well. So lots of complexity patients and lots of variety of patients as well. Our residents round out some of their clinical experiences at multiple community sites as well. So they get a good experience at a big, busy community department, smaller community department down in the Finger Lakes, and a freestanding ED as well. So they really get a good breadth of what it's like to be a doctor and a community doctor. Freestanding ED, big, busy emergency academic departments. The things that we really pride ourselves on is creating an incredible experience for our residents, and really focusing on their wellness and what they need out of a program to get them to where they want to be. Our residents go into all sorts of different fellowships across the country and are located, in a wide breadth of different specialties as they graduate. So I think we do a great job training residents. I went there and trained there, and I really went there and located myself here and stayed in Rochester because of the people and because of the program. And it's something that I really love and really care about. We have multiple different fellowships as well that are represented at our program. We take a lot of internal as well as external candidates. So it's something that if you had future training afterwards or wanted to do more specialty training, we have that available. And Rochester, I find, is just a really wonderful place to live. Medium-sized city, good cost of living. And I think our residents really are able to enjoy a busy emergency department and also the outside life that Rochester has to offer. So I'll kind of stop there because I know you guys are busy and have a ton to go over. Again, if you want more information on our program, you can snap that QR code, shoot me an email, jump on our website, and you can get lots of details about us. But I wish you the best of luck with the application season, and I hope I get a chance to talk to some more of you in the upcoming months during interviews.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Bodkin. And moving ever so slightly east, upstate, Dr. Andonian, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David. I'm the program director for Upstate. I've been here for 8 years. I grew up in the city, did my residency at the Bronx, and then moved up over here. And I have never been happier to be a part of a wonderful family of residents here. I would say that a lot of what Dr. Bodkin has already said really echoes with what Central New York emergency medicine is like as SUNY Upstate. We're a few hours east, and our patient population is similar. Our volume is similar. The community, I would say, is also similar. It's an interesting part of the state that we are really we are in the Central New York label because we truly do sit in the center part of the state of New York. So we have a large influx with a catchment region that's one of the biggest in the country. So we get from Canada to Pennsylvania with so many different diverse populations of people. Surprisingly, and something that I talk to other students and my colleagues about frequently is the idea of diversity. And one of the things that I really am passionate about myself is diversity, being born to refugee immigrants. The city where I grew up is obviously clearly diverse, but inside of each borough, there are populations that really kind of take the majority. Like when I was in the Bronx, it's mostly Hispanic. Syracuse doesn't have that size where there are pockets that are really kind of that big. So any part of the city that you're in really kind of moves from one demographic to the other pretty quickly. Then it becomes suburban, and then it becomes very rural. And then you have like Amish and Mennonite communities, you have refugee communities. So the access and exposure to the types of patients that you're going to see is so extremely diverse, which translates to the types of illness and injury. So we're also one of I think we're the second busiest trauma center in the state because in so many ways of our catchment region, where we're getting, injuries from ATVs and snowmobiles way up in North Country. We're getting motorcycle and motor vehicle accidents in the city. We're getting penetrating injuries in the inner city of where we are. So the opportunity to learn the medicine here is really pretty incredible with a volume that is not shrunken like you might expect, being far outside of New York City itself. The residents that we have here fall in love with this place, and so many of them stay for faculty, which I think speaks volumes to the family culture that we have here and the togetherness and the community that we built in our residency. The fellowships that many of them stay for, which we have all of the different fellowships in emergency medicine, from ultrasound to PEM to Tox, EMS, hyperbarics, international fellowship, Sim, MedEd. We even have an ICU fellowship that just opened. It's a wonderful place to be able to start your career and even consider staying afterward. Opportunity for education and growing with this family is also really wonderful. I would love to meet any of you, whether it's for a look on an interview trail. Please come and visit us if you'd like. Take a rotation as a student. We're here and would be happy to take as many of you as we can. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andonian. Now we have also in a very similar region, Arnot, Ogden. Dr. Kellogg, go ahead.
Hey, you're in a group of emergency physicians when everyone's saying good afternoon at 8 p.m. So good afternoon, everybody. We are in Elmira, New York. We're about 2 hours south of both Rochester and Syracuse. And I want to echo what Dr. Bodkin was saying, that all of the programs in New York State are fantastic programs. And, your goal going through the match process is finding the program that is the right fit for you. We view our role as being a community hospital training program. Elmira is a small city. It's in the Finger Lakes, surrounded by a heck of a lot of rural. Our hospital is pretty small. We see about 37,000 visits per year in our ER. We're a stroke center, we're a STEMI center. We are not a trauma center, but the reality of being a community hospital is that traumas come to your hospital when there are not other choices around. And we have a lot of knife and gun going on in the small city. We have a lot of farm accidents going on around the city. We have a prison in town. There is plenty of trauma volume despite us not being that trauma center. And, we really lean into the notion that most ERs in the country are small community ERs, and what better way to prepare to work in that environment than to train in that environment. Our residency started as an AOA program 9 or 10 years ago, and then we transitioned when everybody merged. We're very much a DO friendly program. We've had tons and tons of DO folks even after the merger. We're a small program. We take 6 residents per year. We're a 3-year program. Rural ERs. We've had a few graduates over the years that have wanted to do fellowships, and they've had no trouble getting into fellowship programs. We have had a couple go do ultrasound, a couple do addiction medicine. We have one doing a wilderness medicine fellowship who graduated last year, a couple that have done EMS fellowships. We really feel like we do a good job preparing residents to work anywhere. If you could go to my next slide, please. Thank you. We do recognize that you can't see everything you need to see in a small community hospital to feel really prepared. And so we have some away rotations, most of them in New York State, but we do go down to shock trauma in Baltimore for a trauma rotation in second year that I think really kind of seals the deal on the approach to trauma that you need to be successful the rest of your career. We provide housing for all of those away rotations. It's really close to each of the hospitals that we're working at. By being a small community hospital, there's really no competition for procedures. We have radiology, IM, FM, and transitional years and psych here at our hospital. None of those people are interested in doing central lines or intubations or anything like that. So you get them all. I say if you have an ortho procedure come in, you do the sedation, you do the reduction, you call the orthopedist and say, this is what I have and this is what I did. And they say, that's fantastic. They can see me tomorrow. We also lean into being a rural program, doing wilderness medicine quarterly throughout our didactics, get outside, do fun stuff around here. We do a lot of wellness stuff. We were actually axe throwing this morning and managed not to injure ourselves doing that, which I was really excited about. And being a small program with a small number of residents, small number of faculty, you really get good mentorship and get to know everybody closely. I will also throw my contact information in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to me with more questions. And I look forward to seeing you all on the interview trail.
All right. Thank you so much. And for Garnet, Dr. Santikul, are you here?
I am. Hello. Sorry for my attire. I just got out of the ER, another crazy day. So my name is Dulaya Santikul. I've been the program director here since 2014. I built the program. It's a 3-year program. We also initially were an AOA program, a 4-year program, but we decided with our acuity in 2020 when we became single credited that we had enough volume and acuity to become a 3-year program. We are also a stroke center, a cardiothoracic center, a STEMI center, trauma level 2. We're about 1 hour away from the city. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. We can go hiking, have the Adirondacks, Catskills about an hour away, or we can go to the city for a Broadway show or a delicious meal. So the residents have called Garnet the hidden gem because not many people know where Middletown, New York is. And why would you go visit Middletown, New York? But I can tell you that when you come here, once the students get here, they realize we're the hidden gem. Because when you graduate here, you will be a very confident attending. And the reason is because of our acuity, our volume, and that we are unopposed. And also the way our program is tiered. I guarantee you by the time you graduate that you will see 2.5 to 3 patients per hour. You will be very proficient in procedures. We have our volume is about 82,000, and we have a high acuity because of our area of encatchment. As an EM physician, you are both a medical doctor and proceduralist. And of course, we have uncontrolled environments and we have unscreened patients. So not only do you need to know how to do those procedures, be proficient at them, you also need to know how to troubleshoot them. So anywhere within our hospital, our ICU or the floors, they call us to do the procedures. So we'll help them to do procedures. By the time our residents graduate, they have about 80 to 100 intubations, central lines about 40 to 60, and those are only the ones that are documented because, as you know, residents, they get tired of documenting things. They also do dialysis catheter, things like that. So all the life-saving procedures, our residents are very proficient at and can troubleshoot. So like I mentioned before, we're not a tiered program. If day one you have a sick patient, that's your patient, those are your procedures. And of course, we have a supportive environment. So there will be a senior resident next to you and an attending. So it's not just you as an intern. Of course, we never want that because that's a little scary. And so by the time our residents are in their second year, the middle of their second year, they're very comfortable manning a pod. So their senior year is the pre-attending year, if not sooner. Everyone develops at a different speed. Some take longer than others. Some are they're just born to be ER doctors, and we call them the beasts, where from day one, they just know how to be efficient. So those residents grow quicker than others. So what I mean by that is that we have opportunity to cater the residency based on what your needs are and what your abilities are. You'll be able to speak to a consultant in their language. That's important too, because you want to be able to communicate with the same words and know the pathophys in order to help your patients effectively. Most of us are in a administrative position of some sort, so that has value in itself because you get to learn different aspects of medicine. We are starting an ultrasound track this year. Our graduate came back and he is going to start ultrasound track and hopefully an ultrasound fellowship. We are also focused on diversity from the financial aspect, ethnicity, religion. We try to also give a well-rounded experience. So rural medicine at Catskills, rural community emergency medicine at Garnet, and then we also have the urban experience at Jacobi Medical Center. Touro Medical School is also just 5 minutes down the road. It's been a great symbiotic relationship, a lot of teaching opportunities. We also do cadaver labs, workshops with the students. And we're just a small group with everyone here just enjoys teaching and enjoys being with one another. Work doesn't feel like work. So we have a lifetime of support. The residents still keep in touch with us. So if you're interested in coming to visit us, coming to see what we're about, the hidden gem, please reach out to me and we'll set something up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santikul. For Vassar, Dr. Borenstein or Nelson-Perron.
Hi, can you see me okay? Am I there? All right.
Yeah.
So my name is Marc Borenstein. I'll be representing the program tonight as the program director and putting my email in there if you want to reach me. First, it's just an honor to be here. I am so moved by the programs. I've been in emergency medicine and started as a program director at Lincoln Medical Center in 1988 when there were only about 42 or 44 programs. So to see what we have today is just so incredible. And I just want to acknowledge all the programs here. And I want to thank every single one of you, medical students, for taking a look at emergency medicine. I am so honored that you're looking at our specialty. And I want to thank you for becoming physicians. It's just emergency medicine is awesome. I've been in it for decades. I love it. And, we have many of the features that you've heard from the other programs. So I was thinking, what makes us distinctive? I think our greatest asset is our people, our residents, our faculty, our patients, our emergency department staff, and I wanted to show you our residents. This is the class of residents we have from this past academic year. We have 45% of our program represented by people traditionally, areas that are underrepresented in emergency medicine. 50% of our program are women. We have graduates, about 35% have gone into fellowships in EMS, toxicology, ultrasound, critical care, and jobs across the country, from Florida to Texas to California to North Dakota to Pennsylvania, New York. We have people placed all over the country getting the jobs that they want. We don't have a big research program with R01 grants. I think we are a clinically powerful program training Baffords. But most importantly, I'm interested in creating a foundation on which you can stand for the next 30 years, not just training for 3, but creating the values and the ideals that we mentor and role model that you can take with you for the rest of your life. We do this through an emphasis on communication, because I mean, while we have all the skills like intubation and central lines and all those things, every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you're going to meet someone or a patient or a family you've never met before. And we want to equip you with the communication skills to establish relationship from the minute you walk in the room. We want you to come out being ready for anything, anywhere, anytime. We do this through mentoring, coaching. I'm interested in preparing you for longevity in emergency medicine. I've been doing this for like 40 years, and I love it, and I still love it. And it's an honor to be a program director. We want to help you fulfill on your dreams, your aspirations in your personal life, your professional life. I want you to be the person that you're on the planet for, the person you want to be. That's what we want to incorporate into our training. I think that's basically really an overview of our program. We're in the Mid-Hudson Valley, 10 residents per year. It's just I think what do we bring is enthusiasm and love for people, a supportive environment where we're going to challenge you to be your absolutely very best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Borenstein.
Thank you.
Next, we have oops.
Oh, well, that's what we were looking for.
Oops.
But that's okay.
Sorry about that. Next, we have Lincoln Hospital, Dr. Dominguez.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I don't know why my camera's not working. It was working a couple minutes ago, but somehow it's disconnected right now. My name is Dr. Dominguez. People call me Rui. I go by my first name. I'm not one of those people that are very stickler with their last names. I've been at Lincoln since 2006, actually. And I become program director this past year, but I've also been part of leadership since I graduated as a resident. We are in the South Bronx. We are a 4-year program. We are the busiest ER in the Northeast, a single ER. We see upwards between 175,000 patients per year. We are a very diverse program. We are a non-tier program. Again, from day one, our interns present straight to the attendings. We have anywhere from 6 attendings in the ED at one time up to 12 attendings in the ED. So the residents are not responsible to see every single patient that we actually see in the ED. We also do have mid-levels. We have NPs and PAs that do not interfere or affect the resident training. They actually augment the resident training as they eventually become leaders and actually lead teams of PAs along with an attending. As you can see, we have more than enough patients to go around to practice skills and procedures. Most of our residents are done with their required procedures by early in their second year. The only procedure that the 4th years tend to steal from the juniors are the thoracotomies, which everybody's always looking for. And we do get some of those a year. Yeah, we are known as the Gun and Knife Club in the Bronx, just because we get a lot of penetrating trauma. Our residents themselves come from all parts of the U.S., actually from all parts of the world. We've taken people from outside the U.S. that we thought that would be strong and help develop our residency, and so far they have. Couple other things. Most of our graduates will go on to leadership roles in the field. Some will go to private practice, but over 50% of our residents tend to do a fellowship or go into academics. We have many graduates or PDs, APDs, and even chief or chairs of the departments across the country. We are a very close-knit group of residents and attendings. We do a lot of social events throughout the city and in my house. I live in Jersey, so the residents come over to my place, and we have fun there. We have a pool, have lots of other stuff in my backyard that the residents come and enjoy. They just have to commute there. We'll find ways of commuting there. Yeah, I'm going to put my email here. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys during interview season and through other events that we're going to be having. I'll put my email and contact information along with our website, and there's a password I'm going to put in there that allows you to access our secure website that we have for interviewees and stuff like that. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Dominguez. Next, we have Mount Sinai in Manhattan.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Friedman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Duncan Grossman. Tim and I are two of the APDs representing the program at Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side and Elmhurst in Elmhurst, Queens.
You know, we wanted to show you our mission statement because we really believe in it. We feel like we are a program that can help develop amazing doctors, and we do that by our rigorous clinical training, our mentorship, and our really intentional education programs. We're a 4-year program, and you'll hear a little bit more about our 2 sites in just a moment. But we really take pride in our curriculum because we use those 4 years not only to make you amazing doctors, but to help develop niches in emergency medicine. And so we do that using our scholarly tracks, which range from palliative care to medical education, ultrasound, toxicology, sports medicine, and many others, and help you sort of work towards the job, your dream job, whether that's here in New York City or elsewhere, anywhere across the country. And of course, we do that because we are really lucky to work with an incredibly diverse set of patients and have an amazingly diverse team. Next slide.
So just a minute or so talking about our 2 main sites that our residents rotate through, which is really sort of, I think, the selling point and like the main reason you should consider this place. So Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side, obviously like tons of volume, crazy quaternary care center, start thinking like liver transplant, start thinking lung transplant, heart transplant, crash ECMO in the ED, LVADs, all that sort of stuff. And then obviously we do STEMI stroke. The peds at Sinai is like absolutely ridiculous. And I had a single ventricle dextrocardia the other day. I was like, this is just wild. So like I'm still learning every single day as an attending over at Sinai. And then on the other side is Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, which in my opinion, very much is the best kept secret in New York City. If you want to see volume, Elmhurst is a place to see volume. Safety net hospital that serves a really underserved area and a huge catchment area of people who look to the emergency department as their main source of healthcare. Level 1 trauma, lots of penetrating, obviously lots of blood. I won't bore you with that stuff. And then to balance out your wild pediatric cases, really, really cool, nice bread and butter core pediatrics there. So I think the programs or the hospitals really complement each other nicely. And one more slide, please.
At the end of the day, this is really why you should consider coming to visit us and getting to know us. This is an amazing group of people. I did my residency here. I stayed on for fellowship and now on as an APD. And I have never met such an incredible group of people. We really hope that you'll come and meet us and get to know us. Feel free to reach out. We'll put our emails in the chat in just a moment. And we look forward to getting to know you as well. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. And if that was not enough Mount Sinai for you, we also have Morningside West. Dr. He.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. And I would love to introduce the other residency program in the Mount Sinai Health System. So we are Mount Sinai Morningside West, a 3-year academic program that's completely Manhattan-based. And you may also know us as St. Luke's Roosevelt, or SLR, because that was our name for like almost 25 years. We actually just celebrated our 30th year in emergency medicine. So we have a ton of alumni all over the country, all over the world. And we've really been training EM docs for a long time here in New York City. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we're part of the Mount Sinai Health System. So there's really ample academic opportunities. All of our core faculty and faculty members have academic appointments with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. And really, we pride ourselves on the fact that we're a 3-year program in the city where we're able to really do it all in terms of clinical and academic opportunities for our residents. Next slide. One, I think, really nice aspect of the program is that we really cover the entire west side of Manhattan. So what that means is, one, it's a great commute. There's actually something called a jitney that takes our residents between the two sites. Most of our residents live in Midtown near Mount Sinai West, and it's an easy commute up to Mount Sinai Morningside. But two, and perhaps more importantly, your catchment area is huge. There's a standalone ED that belongs to Lenox Hill in the West Village, but other than that, there's really nothing but the two hospitals that are resident staff on the west side, all the way up to Columbia. Next slide. We really pride ourselves on our clinical experience and the way that we set up graduated responsibility over the 3 years, such that our senior year, our third year residents really take over the running of a team. So it's a pre-attending experience the entire year, where they see their own patients primarily, but they also are teaching junior residents on every shift and overseeing their patients. We see about 190,000 patients between the two sites. And there's huge diversity. So this is showing Mount Sinai Morningside, which is up on 113th Street. And this is very much the county type experience within the system. So this is our trauma center. The patient population is generally underserved. We have a large Spanish-speaking population. The hospital is very much at the center of this community. There's a lot of social medicine initiatives here. It's also the STEMI center for the West Side. So the patients who need caths get transferred here. Next slide. On the other hand, Mount Sinai West is in Midtown Manhattan, and you get a real mix of diverse patients here. On the one hand, you might see private patients, celebrities, people who are very well plugged into the healthcare system in New York City. And on the other hand, we also see a lot of unhoused patients because of the neighborhood. There's a very active addiction institute here. So we also treat a lot of patients who suffer from substance abuse disorder. Next slide. I wanted to point out just a couple of things that I think we've overhauled in the last few years in the program and that I think make it unique. I'm lucky to have a really great residency leadership team. We have Chris Hahn. If you know him as the EMC, he really incorporates rap into some of his teaching didactics. Jetty Beck Esme, who helped found Feminem and is also active on MRAP. And then Chris Richardson, who helps to run our conference. And we, over the last few years, have really overhauled conference so that every conference incorporates about 2.5 hours of small group, learner-directed, often flipped classroom learning. Next slide. We also have, I think, a very unique ICU experience in that our third year residents go back into the MICU and run a team with our interns. So they really get a lot of autonomy in the ICU, and about one resident a year ends up doing an ICU fellowship when they graduate. Next slide. We have 3 on-site fellowships. We have a global health fellowship, a SIM fellowship, as well as an admin fellowship. And in addition to that, our residents also have access to 9 fellowships throughout the Mount Sinai health system. So you get a lot of exposure to various mentors as well as various academic opportunities when you graduate. Next slide. We also have something called resident directors, which is a mini fellowship curriculum in the third year, in addition to scholarly tracks in various divisions. In addition to the fellowships I mentioned, we also have a very active ultrasound division. Next slide. And perhaps more importantly, we really pride ourselves on the fact that we have a very close community of residents. We feel that people who come here belong to the Mount Sinai Morningside West SLR family, and we really are in touch with our alumni for life. Next slide. So we hope to see you on the interview trail and get to know you a little bit more. And I will also put my email in the chat. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. He. Now, next we have the program that Elmira and I both call home from opposite sides of Manhattan, Columbia Cornell.
Thank you, Brendan and Elmira. And I wanted to thank the NYEMSC board for hosting us tonight. It is amazing to see my fellow PDs out there. And I just wanted to say to the students who are there, like, I've been looking at your faces. I am so excited, totally rooting for you in the very best specialty in the House of Medicine. So if I can validate you, you have chosen correctly. In the time given, I have a QR code here. It'll take you to our brochure, give you a little bit more idea. I wanted to try to distill a few different points. So here are the bones of our program. We're a 4-year program, 250,000 plus patient volume. We have 21 residents per year. You have the Cornell and Columbia sites in Manhattan. Also, remember, we have a premier pediatric level 1 trauma experience at the Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital. They are centers of excellence for everything. You also will get a lot of like high functioning, kind of high resource utilization at the Cornell site, at the Columbia site. You almost have a county type experience. So those are pretty exciting in terms of seeing different models for our residents. And there is a plan now to have you at some different community sites to really enhance your experience. So we're looking at the Lower Manhattan location, and we're looking at the Allen and Westchester sites. So it's going to be really, really exciting. We have a mission and vision for diversity. I mean, I think so many of us got into this for social justice. We want to help people from all walks of life really feel a strong attachment to our communities, and making those differences, I think, really, really make a huge difference. Tons of fellowships, med ed, sim, international, admin, peds, geriatrics. I'm probably forgetting a few. So I wanted to distill a few points here. I'm trying to show some fun pictures because I want you to see the humanity of our program, but I wanted to talk about philosophy, process, and outcome. So let's first talk about philosophy. We want to develop you multifacetedly. We want to make you feel like you can be a master clinician. The work is hard. Like, you're going to see a lot of patients. You're going to make sure that you become the very, very best doctor you can be. And I think to a person, each one of our attendings feels like that's their base core. Then kind of all the other academic pursuits that they do really are like bonus or like icing on the cake. We want you to be a scientific contributor. We want you to be curious. We want you to be a master educator, right? Because, Latin doctor docere is teacher, and we want to make sure that you can teach your patients. We teach each other. We want you to be a really powerful advocate. We have so many people who do advocacy work, and I think it's so, so, so important to this next generation of future emergency medicine doctors that you really advocate for your communities. That's something that I love about you, and I think that that's something that we will have lots of mentors to be able to help you with. The second piece that I wanted to talk about process, like how do we do this? How do we accomplish this? Well, supporting you professionally and personally. So professionally, I mean, love, our residents. To me, they're like family. I mean, the amount of things I'm sure all of the other program directors have had to deal with. We have residents who have, who get unfortunately diagnosed with cancer, or we have residents who have family issues that happen. We have residents who have all these terrible things that go on in their lives, and we're there for you in the worst of times. So for me, I actually spend about almost at least twice a month, I'll spend time independently with the residents. I think there's no better way for me to professionally develop you than to personally be there in your lives. Mentoring sessions at 2 in the morning, right? Like, that's like the best thing about emergency medicine. We have 17 academic practice tracks, so really opportunities for you to meet really great folks within the fields, masters in their field, and be able to have you kind of excel in your passion areas. We have a mentorship and sponsorship and coaching cascade, so opportunities for you to like connect with people that are going to be really special. We do group social events on Tuesdays, so just take a look, right? Like, I mean, you can see here this is our crew at a we were going to like a little pumpkin farm, which was awesome. We have our group at SAM. We've had different outings to baseball games and there's a Halloween theme. And if we go to the next slide, I just tried to get a ton more photos in there, just whether it's like, I think sharing time with not just you, but the special people in your life, it's building community. And so we've had people come from very far away places to our program, and that they, we wanted to make sure that they felt supported and loved, because you deserve it. Let's see what else. Outcomes, right? Let's talk about the outcomes. Well, we've been able to get residents into tons of geographical places all around the country, all different types of jobs. Some folks doing community, some folks doing fellowship, some folks doing international work or rural work. We want you to know that when you come here, you have an opportunity to go anywhere you want in the world. And I think I'll close by just saying, like in the interview season, we always ask you all sorts of things, but I don't know, are we giving a lot? Do we tell you a little bit about ourselves? So just so you know a little bit about me, to make this a little bit more human. I mean, I've almost been 20 years in program leadership. I am a father of 4, and as we've been increasing our residency program from 12 to 21, I've got 67 other children, that I take care of. My hashtag on Twitter or X is the Garg Father. I love that role, and I love just being there in my residents' lives. I love music. Run DMC was my first concert. Like, oh my God, I was like 2 feet away from D. It was like amazing. Love playing basketball. I've got some fun stories there. Do a lot of international travel and work. Plays and movies, like love that too. Actually just saw Wolverine and Deadpool with one of my residents, which was like totally cool. Just love people. And I want to let you know that we love you all and we really want the best for you. And so I hope I get a chance to talk to you some more. I'll also add my email on the side, but super excited for your future and just overwhelmed to be with my program director colleagues. This is an awesome group and you will not go wrong with any program in this city. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garg. For our last Manhattan program, NYU.
Hi all, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Hi there, my name is Charlene Johnson. I'm the only person here tonight. Dr. Von Reinhardt couldn't make it. I'm one of the APDs of the NYU Bellevue Emergency Medicine Residency. We are a mid-sized to larger size residency right in the heart of Manhattan. If you just flip through to the next side, we are, can skip this. Yeah, so we are 4-year residency located in the middle of Manhattan. We are the only level 1 trauma center below Central Park in Manhattan. Our residents, we take 18 a year, and we take 18 residents from all over the country. Our residents are very, very close to each other, and it really does, we try our best to make it feel as much like a family as possible. Residency is hard, as you will hear. No matter where you go, getting good training can be very difficult. So we try to ensure that our residents have all of the support that they need. I'm actually currently like dog sitting for one of my senior residents while they're like on going to a wedding. Or residency is spread out across 4 sites. Our main site, of course, are Bellevue, which was our opening picture, and then this is Tisch. Bellevue is actually in this picture, just like a little bit further down the street. And we're located in Midtown East. And basically you will get, Bellevue, of course, is the level 1 trauma center. It is the flagship of the HHC public hospital system in New York City. You will get your trauma activations there, or patient population there is the reason why we went into emergency medicine. There's a lot of social EM. You're truly on the front lines of medicine there. Tisch is kind of the quaternary referral center where you will see the LVADs and those cases that you have definitely forgot since you took step 1, and you're kind of standing there going, oh yeah, I vaguely remembered this. What's the name of that drug? And then we have 2 other training sites where you spend probably about 20-25% of your time at. One is in Brooklyn, and that is almost more of a community hospital feel. That is a very immigrant population. You will be learning about different cultures and different peoples, and it has like really good bread and butter emergency medicine. And then we actually have a freestanding ER located in like the north section of Brooklyn in Cobble Hill, where it's you, an attending, and a PA, and there is nothing else in-house but you. So it gives our residents, I think, a really good experience of what it's like to make those decisions of, should this be transferred? Should this not be transferred? How stable do we have to get these patients before they are transferred? And also, naturally, all the procedures there are yours. Anything that's happening, you are sedating and managing all of your own broken bones. You're draining your own like PTAs, everything that you're doing, you're scoping your patients yourself. So it gives our residents, I think, a good exposure to all the different types of emergency medicine. Between all of our sites, our residents are exposed to over 500,000 patient visits per year. Next slide, please. This kind of goes through it. We kind of pride ourselves in producing leaders in education. We have a ton of training opportunities for fellowship. And therefore, like while you're within residency, we have something called the Scholarly Academies. And through them, if you're interested in simulation, ultrasound, leadership, quality and improvement, whatever your niche is, research, there's lots of support here, and there's lots of exposure to the different types and the different areas of emergency medicine to kind of give our residents the step up to do whatever it is that they want to do. Our program director here, Dr. Jeff Manco, is the warmest, kindest man that you will ever encounter, and he truly cares about all of the residents. And he has probably trained half of the physicians that you'll come across. He's been here for about 20 years, and I think that just goes to show how much he loves the program and how much the program really cares. And that's about it for us. I will put my email in the chat for you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Now jumping over to a different borough, we now have Staten Island.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Billy Caputo. I'm the program director on Staten Island. We are the one training program for the borough of Staten Island, which is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. We see 500,000 people, and there's 3 hospitals on the island. So a tremendous patient population. I am biased, but I think we have the 2 strongest hospitals on the island by far. And one is our big community site that has really a bunch of different residency training programs. We have we're an ECMO center, stroke center, STEMI center, snakebite center, you name it, and we have it there. And then we have our community site, which our average wait time to be seen is 5 minutes, and you actually need a year of training to even start working there, because it's going to really teach you how to work well and develop into a really strong emergency physician. I'm the only program director here that I'm proud to say that Dr. Anand Swaminathan is one of our attendings who you work with in CRIT. Him and Abbas Hussein run our medical education fellowship. We have 2 med-ed fellows in our program now. We have 10 residents a year over 3 years, so our class is 30 residents. If you know any students that have come and rotated with us, please speak to them, and they will give you the inside scoop about our program. Our program, the hospital itself is ran by the emergency department. So Dr. Brahim Ardolik, who is the executive director of the hospital, and the medical director, Nicole Burwell, they were both chairs of our department. They actually hired me to start working on Staten Island. So it's actually a very good time to be an ER resident on Staten Island, because all of the other different services want to get along with us, because our direct bosses are from the emergency department. So it feels great. If you fall and break your hip on Staten Island, it's actually standard of care that the EM resident is doing a fascia iliaca block. And we try and do a lot of advanced nerve blocks. We have a great ultrasound division. The standard for our training residents is that you do 1,000 ultrasound scans in residency, which means even if you just do a regular residency, you do enough to do any advanced ultrasound just by doing 3 years in our program. As the 3rd year, you have a rotation called the procedure team. I'm unaware of other programs doing that, but the inpatient team consults our team, like we're the interventional radiologists, and we do lumbar punctures, paracentesis, dialysis access, central lines, etc., on the floor on admitted patients under the supervision of an attending physician. Dr. Troy Pena is the director of global health for all of Northwell. He's an attending in our department that you will work with. So it's really a great time to come and see us. We try to, set the bar with our program. We have a podcast that you guys could listen to. We actually have an elective for students if they'd like to do that with us. Part of ultrasound training, we do TEE training as well. So you get that just in our residency program. Please come check us out on Instagram. I think that will give you a really great insight of what the program's like and what residency life is like. And I very much look forward to seeing you guys on the interview trail. I'm going to leave my contact information, and our website is statenislandem.com. Thank you guys for putting this together. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caputo. And now for Maimonides, Dr. Lee.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you guys for a bit tonight. So I will direct you guys to our website, www.mimoem.org. That's where we'll tell you about, we're a 3-year program. We take 18 residents a year, the CIR benefits, all of that stuff. But there is also a lot of great information and like videos that have like application advice, as well as I think a lot of videos that just kind of tell you about the place and introduce a lot of our residents and just give you kind of a sense of the camaraderie and the family feel of the place. Along those lines, I think I would suggest following us on Instagram as well. It's at MIMOEM as well. But I think it gives you a good sense of the vibes of the place. Our residents do a great job of that. I'm going to spend my time telling you about, I guess, some of the highlights that are my favorite. So, we're located in Brooklyn. You'll hear about the diversity of our patient population. It's really, given our location, we're at the intersection of several just really diverse and different communities. And I think there's a statistic that's like 200 plus distinct languages. That's, I believe, on an annual survey, not in a day, but sometimes it feels that way. And the really great thing is, this is a patient population that is obviously vulnerable in a lot of ways. It's, they're lower income from all over the world, non-English speaking. And Maimonides is actually, we're actually one of the largest teaching community hospitals in the country. We're level 1 trauma, comprehensive stroke, STEMI, dedicated PEDS ED, all the bells and whistles that come with that stuff. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about my day-to-day clinical job is being able to provide really this first-rate medical care to this patient population that actually otherwise may not have access to all of that. So I do find that particularly rewarding, and I do love training residents in an environment where we get to do that on a day-to-day basis as well. So other things I love about the program, our program's been around for over 2 decades. We just graduated like our 21st or 22nd class. We've got alumni all across the country, and in recent years, I would say it's been about half the class to 2/3 have pursued fellowships, and they've matched to really great programs in critical care, ultrasound, all the stuff. That info is also on our website. And the other half get great jobs in community settings, academic settings, like East Coast, West Coast, everywhere in between. Other great features about our 3-year program, I'll highlight there's a dedicated international month, which is really fun. There's 2 months of selective time. There's a scholarly tracks program, which, basically pairs you up with one of our fellowship trained docs and allows you to kind of pursue a niche or like fellowship within one of those fellowships that you see offered here on this list. I would be remiss, the residents definitely need to tell you about the robust event medicine opportunities that we have. We cover, the US Open, Madison Square Garden, like sporting events and concerts, as well as like a variety of music festivals, including the Gorges. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I would love to tell you guys more about. So my info is at the bottom, along with all the other members of my med ed team. We would be happy to talk with you guys. And I'm really excited to meet a lot of you guys this interview season. I'll put my info down below as well. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. Continuing to move through Brooklyn, we have Downstate.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I am Natasha Buckridge. I am representing Kings County Emergency Department as well as SUNY Downstate. We are a joint program in Brooklyn, New York, just like MIMO before us. I could say so many things about why I love this program, and I don't think that 2 minutes would give me enough time to do it justice. So I'm not even going to try. I'm going to direct you guys to all of the incredible resources we have online, including our website, our Instagram page, that you can use to sort of get the meats and bones of our program. But I really wanted to spend my minute talking about my journey to emergency medicine and why Kings County and Downstate really highlighted how I was able to become the person I am today. So a little bit under 20 years ago, my mother immigrated to Brooklyn, New York, from Kingston, Jamaica, the islands, where I was born. And she came here as a single mother, moved to the community around Kings County Hospital. I think my elementary school was like walking distance from the hospital. And even at that time, when I was like 9 or 10 years old, going to school every day, hearing about the violence in my community, hearing about the gang wars and the other horrible things happening in Brooklyn at that time, which has gotten better. Kings County was a recurring theme, that this was the place you could show up to when you needed to get health care and you didn't have insurance, when you were an undocumented immigrant, when you had a gunshot wound or a stab wound. This is where you wanted to go. And so that was sort of the impression that I had of this hospital in my mind, even from a very young age. I didn't know at the time I wanted to be a doctor, and my journey to medicine in general was a whole nother story that I'm not even going to get into today. But ultimately, 5 years ago, I ended up matching into emergency medicine to start my training at Kings County, and it lived up to everything that I thought it could possibly be. Over the course of those 4 years, I really got to see what it meant to be a service to a community, and not just as a physician, but as a member of the community living here, sharing the spaces with the patients that I was taking care of in the hospital, eating their food, really understanding that this is a place that I actually grew up in and saw all of the social determinants of health that affect our lives day to day, and then being able to make a difference on the other side of that as a physician. And after I finished my training here, all of the mentorship I received sort of pointed me to this pathway of staying on as a faculty member and now being one of the assistant program directors. And it's been an incredible honor to continue to work here. Like I said, I could go on and on about all the details of being a 4-year program and all the patients that we see and all the pathologies that we see and all the trauma, but I really just want to highlight that we really are a mission-based program. And if that rings true for you, if showing up to work every day in emergency medicine means you want to make a difference in each life that you're taking care of, then Kings County is the place for you.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to Long Island. If the NYU before wasn't enough for you, we have another one.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. So I'm Alexandra Ortego. I'm the program director at NYU Long Island. So I know with these big health systems, this often gets a little confusing. So NYU Long Island is the Long Island branch of NYU. It's located in Mineola, New York, where we have our own medical school and our own hospital out here on Long Island. For those less familiar with the area, we are about a 35-minute train ride into Manhattan, but also only 20 minutes away from the beach. So it's kind of a best of both worlds for some outdoors, some extra space, and access to city resources as well. We are a 3-year program. We train 6 residents per year. And we are also a newer program. So our second class just started this past July. And we'll be recruiting our 3rd class this year. So our main campus is a big academic medical center, has pretty much every resource you could want: level 1 trauma center, stroke center, STEMI receiving hospital. And we have a very high acuity, one of the highest admission rates in the state. So there's really no competition for you to, do procedures, take care of sick patients, especially since for our volume and acuity, we have a smaller sized residency. Our interns are taking care of critical patients from day one. One of our new interns intubated on her first day of orientation. So it's a really fun place to get a lot of experience. Our residents also spend 2 months out at our community site, Long Island Community Hospital, which is out in Patchogue. So a great opportunity to get some more community experience, a little less exposure to consultants, and learning how to transfer patients out, a different patient population as well. I can see why some may pause when they think about coming to a new program. I think if you talk to our residents, you would say that it's really paid off for them. Some advantages of being at a new program is you get a lot of individual attention, feedback. They're meeting with me and the APDs all the time. And they have a unique ability to really shape the culture and have their voices heard in our program and help, shape their education. And we're very receptive to feedback. I'd say we're like the feedback residency. So our residents have made a lot of suggestions and they've really been able to shape our program. And also our faculty are really incredible. They know our residents well. It's also a smaller faculty group. So there's assigned mentors, but there's a lot of built-in mentorship within our program as well. So yeah, please check out our website, check us out on social media. Feel free to email me, and you have a lot of great choices that you're hearing here tonight. And I hope to see some of you on the interview trail. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And next, our next Long Island program, we have Northwell Zucker.
Hey, my name's Tom Pereira. I've been the program director there for about 8 years now. Love this place, love the field. You guys are awesome for having come that far. Next slide. So the Zucker Emergency Medicine Program at North Shore LIJ is a big program. It's 23 residents a year and 2 EM-IMs. I am sure your brains, after all those programs, are completely fried. And so I want to help you understand how I look at all the different programs. You must be thinking all the programs that are out there are basically offering the same things because that's what's required. Next slide. But I have a nice visual representation for you. This is a hamburger. It meets all the requirements of a hamburger. Next slide. But this is the hamburger that I want to eat, right? So what it comes down to is find the parts of emergency medicine that you love and find some of the programs that have those. We designed our program to be a program that was all about and. We did not want it to be an or program. I didn't want it to be community or academic. I didn't want it to be inner city or sort of community or any of those things. I wanted it to be all of them. So one of our hospitals sits in Queens, is a safety net hospital. Queens has a level of diversity that blows everybody out of the water, 100 different languages spoken regularly. And then another hospital where they essentially are doing the frontline work and research that's going to change medicine. So this is this other hospital that we go to, if they invent a disease on Thursday, we're seeing it in the ED on Saturday, and it's really kind of cool. Next slide. We have every fellowship that we could think of, and all of them have essentially tracks to mastery. So even if you don't do the fellowship, you'll still be smarter in that field. There's some good evidence-based medicine out there that if a program has a fellowship in something, the residents get better trained in that because there are more resources associated with it. Next slide. The acuity at our place is phenomenal. I was working today and I got to intubate 2 people for completely different reasons. Somehow Kwame here makes it look cool when he does it, not me or a bunch of the other residents. We have almost a 40% admission rate at one of our hospitals, so the level of acuity is amazing. We integrate with our ICUs incredibly well. So 8 of our ER docs also work up in the ICUs, which means that when you're working in the ED, you start to think in terms of what do I do for the sickest patients? And you learn from the people who will be taking care of them. It also means that when you go up to the units to do your rotations, you're not going to meet complete strangers. You're going to work with attendings that you work with every day. And so it doesn't become us and them. It really is us and us. Next slide. One of the things we really like to do is expose you to everything. So one of our hospitals is a level 1 trauma center that's extremely busy. One of them is a level 2 hospital where you get almost as much trauma, but there's no trauma team to come and help you. It's all you. And we also rotate down at shock trauma to get the straight trauma hospital experience. And this way, when it comes time to get that high-paying job that you will get, you get to decide which of these sort of settings you like. Next slide. Pediatrics we do in very much the same way. We have a pediatric hospital where you see kids with diseases that you can't pronounce, and that's fun. But at the same time, you work in a community when you're the only doc who knows how to take care of kids. Next slide. Of course, really for all residencies, it's all about the people that you play and work with. And for that, come on Tuesday nights, meet our residents. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how happy they are doing what they are doing. Next slide. We are Zucker School of Medicine at NSLIJ. Just for fun, I'm throwing into the chat a playlist that my residents made for songs that they like to listen to before they go to a shift, because I thought that would be fun to share with everybody. Otherwise, check us out during interview season. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pereira. When you sent me the hamburgers, I was wondering where you were going with it, and I was not disappointed. Next up, we have Good Samaritan.
Hi guys, good evening. So my name is Steve Sattler. I'm the APD out of Good Samaritan in West Islip. Like so many other people on the talk tonight, I just finished a shift as well, and now I need a hamburger, so thank you all. So what makes Good Sam unique compared to all these other wonderful programs talking tonight? Well, I'll tell you a couple of things about us and then invite you to come out and see for yourself. First of all, as we get farther and farther into the night, right, we're geographically moving farther and farther out on Long Island. You'll notice on the map there where Good Sam is located. We're just over the Suffolk border, right on the South Shore. If you're standing on the top floor of one of our hospitals, your view to the south is Fire Island and then out into the open Atlantic. That leads to some fun and unique patient encounters. If you happen to go into cardiac arrest out tuna fishing in the mid-Atlantic, there's a good chance I'm going to see you. If you get bit by a shark on Fire Island, there's a very good chance I'm going to see you. If you fall down and break out your hip on Fire Island, I guarantee you I'm going to see you after a little boat ride to come visit us. But that's not really what EM training is all about. It's just one of the fun perks of being a Good Sam. Good Sam is a 1-2-3 residency program, ACGM accredited with 5-year full accreditation with no warnings. We are a very surprisingly busy emergency department and hospital on the South Shore of Long Island. We see 90 to 100,000 patients yearly in our primary emergency department, with up to a quarter of those being pediatric. The pediatric dedicated ER is one of the busiest, if not busiest, ER in all of Southern New York. We are a comprehensive stroke center, a STEMI receiving center. We are a level 1 trauma center and see much more trauma and diversity than I think a student not from our area might expect. And a big part of that is we benefit from things that have nothing to do with us, mostly location. Just to the east of us is one of the most affluent, well-paid, fancier parts of Long Island, with all the first-class problems and first-class medical care that the patients are getting and bringing into our emergency department. Yet just to the northwest of us is one of the most indentified areas of all of Long Island. If you're not from this area, you may not realize there is a knife and gun club of Long Island, and it happens to be in our catchment area, which leads to really interesting encounters in our emergency department, where the CEO of a company is in a bed right next to some homeless man who might be urinating on my floor. It leads to great patient encounters and great diversity for our trainees. Having said that, what are we really looking for? Well, we're looking for applicants and residents who want to come in, work hard. Nobody's going to lie to you that we don't work hard at Good Sam. We see a lot of patients. We have a lot of patient encounters. We get a lot of experience. But if you want to come in here and be part of something and be part of a team that really, becomes a family over the 3 years that you're with us, I think we're a good place to check out. That might be a lot of talk, but if you want to look at our outcomes, I can guarantee you in the last 5 to 10 years, our graduates have gone on to work both in Middle America, where they are the only doc in their town, totally alone in the middle of the night, but also other graduates going into the big city to the big coronary care medical centers and getting academic institutions and being part of big university settings like that. And I think that kind of outcome is a little unique among training in emergency medicine, to be able to actually say we really do train you well enough to do both. If you want to hear about how we do that and why we do that, I'm being told already I'm running out of time. Please, come on and see us. If you can go to the next slide, please. We have multiple fellowship programs at our hospital. We place our graduates in fellowship training all over the United States in every different fellowship you could imagine. We really are looking for a diverse group of people who just want to come over to Good Sam and make this place a little bit better than the way they found it and become part of the family that we will remember. If you're interested, just call medical education, say, hey, I want a rotation. Hey, I want an interview. Whatever you're at, we guarantee you we'll make a spot for you. Come on down, check us out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sadler. And last but not least, our furthest east tonight, Renaissance School of Medicine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Otterness. I'm one of the APDs at Stony Brook. Thank you all for hanging on to the very end. We've heard about all the other amazing programs in New York, and to be honest, you really can't go wrong. I trained at NYU Bellevue. I work alongside colleagues who come from other New York programs. There's so many great options out there, but I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about what we offer at Stony Brook. So next slide, please. We're a 3-year program. We're located in Suffolk County, Long Island. We're a high volume, high acuity department. We're an adult and pediatric level 1 trauma center. We're also a regional burn center, a regional level 4 perinatal center, which is the highest level for high risk pregnancies. Additionally, we're a STEMI PCI center, a comprehensive stroke center. We offer, state of the art neurointerventional services. We're an ECMO center and we do ED ECMO as well. We have an LVAD program, so our residents get plenty of exposure managing the complexities of LVAD patients. We're a kidney transplant center. We manage complex transplant related emergencies. And just a little bit about our hospital. We have 642 adult inpatient beds and 104 inpatient pediatric beds. Next slide, please. So to touch on our residency program a little bit more. So again, we're a 3-year program. We have 16 residents per class. We offer rotations in ultrasound, EMS, ortho, tox, as well as electives, including the option to do international electives. We have 5 hours of weekly didactics and asynchronous learning. We, include hands-on procedural labs and sim cases in our state-of-the-art simulation center once per month. We're a very, friendly program when it comes to, taking resident feedback very seriously. And so over the years, I always say, I've been at Stony Brook 9 years and no 2 years has our program looked exactly the same because we are constantly tweaking it to the, specifications that our residents request of us. Our main hospital, which is Stony Brook University, is the large academic center, but, we also feel that it's important to expose our residents to community emergency medicine as well, to give them, a robust and well-rounded training environment. So we have various community rotations at Eastern Long Island Hospital, as well as we have a VA hospital rotation. And then perhaps, the biggest strength of our program is our RACU, which is our resuscitation and critical care unit of our emergency department. So we have 22 beds there. We have 3, advanced trauma bays as well. And it's where our sickest patients are treated. And, it's a regional center for so many things, and our catchment area being so large, we say very large volume, very large acuity in that area of our ED. It's not uncommon to have the less sick of the sick, moved to hallway spots when we get too busy. And, we really want our residents to get comfortable taking care of multiple sick patients simultaneously. So, day 1 of intern year, we start our interns, there. They're never alone. They're always with more senior residents and oftentimes a critical care fellow and obviously, 1 or 2 faculty as well. But, they're definitely pushed to the edge of their comfort zone, those first few months that they're working in critical care, but, that allows them to get procedurally competent very early on in their training, in terms of intubations and lines in particular. It's not uncommon to see our 2nd-year residents, now walking our interns through the procedures because they already have enough to graduate. And so, by the end of their training, they feel very comfortable managing multiple sick patients simultaneously. We also offer our a very robust ICU training, including rotations in the MICU, the PICU, the neurocritical care unit, the CCU, and the SICU. And then, another thing I wanted to highlight, so both our critical care shifts and our PEDS emergency medicine shifts are longitudinal, meaning they're sprinkled, throughout all of our ED blocks. So our residents are getting, year-long exposure to both the critical care zone and the pediatric zone. And then lastly, we do have the option, which actually most of our residents take advantage of going to shock trauma for a rotation as a PGY3. Next slide, please. So, thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you guys tonight. I hope to, meet many of you during the interview season. And if you have any other questions about our program, feel free to reach out to either myself, I'll put my info in the chat, or to our program coordinators who are listed here.
All right. Thank you so much. So that is it for tonight for our introductions to the programs. So we still have some time left. We were intending this to go to about an hour and a half with room for questions. If anybody needs to go, feel free to go. But if anybody is able to stick around to answer questions, we would love to have you answer a couple. So Elmira will be running that portion. I will stop sharing. Elmira, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It was absolutely wonderful to get to see all of your faces and learn a little bit about your program tonight.
If you have too much background, I can get started on the questions.
Okay, I think we're good. So the plan for this evening is to try and give everybody a chance to respond to a question or two because we received lots of different questions and there are quite a few of you here representing your programs. I'm just going to call on one or two program directors per question to respond to. If you could try and keep your response to about a minute, that way we can give as many people as possible a chance to respond. So if Dr. Bodkin and Dr. Andonian are still present, I'm going to address the first question that we received to both of you. It's kind of a broad question. So there's a lot of discussion about increasing burnout among clinicians in EM. Can you speak to the future of the specialty and what are programs doing to help combat this?
Ryan, you want to go first?
I can go second. You can go ahead, David.
Okay. So what I would say about burnout is I would say that burnout is a very real thing, and to try to pretend that it's not something and it's sort of a, this magical thing that we talk about, like, no, don't worry about it. Come to EM. It's really great. Like, but burnout doesn't, like, it's a very real thing. And it's a really stressful job that we do. So I will tell you that before I get into my thoughts about burnout specifically, like, this is your opportunity as a student to think really, really hard about how much you love this specialty, because it is not an easy ask for somebody to get up every single day and show up in a place where the thanks are scarce, the work is really hard, but you are also tasked with an almost impossible task of taking care of all of the people that nobody else cares enough to take care of or can't or whatever. And having to deal with that culture and under this, like, pressure is not easy. So you've got to love it to go back every day. And one of the things that I say about avoiding burnout as an individual is to make sure that you don't stop doing all of the other things in your life that make you love life as well. If you forget all of the wonderful parts about what life is worth living for, then coming and helping other people is going to be a really hard thing to fit in without feeling like you're getting too exhausted. It's about doing this job with people that you really care about as well, that you feel comfortable and supported with and are willing to support them to try to access this task that, again, is really tough. So it's also important that not only do you pick the place that you want to be, the job that you want to be, and the people that you want to be with, but the type of job specifically so that you are fulfilling a career for yourself that's more than just go to work, go home, go to work, go home. There needs to be more with a greater depth to your position, whether it's academics, whether it's administration, whether it's some other component of medicine that's not just chewing through charts every day, will help you breathe a little bit when you have the chance, will help you find a lot more balance. But the balance is not just in the way that you mix your personal life with your work life. It's about mixing different parts of your work life within itself and finding people that you want to do that with. And, there's a holy grail that I think I actually feel very lucky to say that I feel like I'm kind of close. it's not easy to get up and go every day, but my position as PD provides that balance for me with a group of residents that I would throw myself in traffic for and faculty that I would do the same. Living in a place that I identify as very comfortable and peaceful, and I have my personal family, and everything else doesn't really matter to me. So I implore you to try to think about these very dynamic and specific components when you're thinking about what you're going to do with your life in residency, post-residency, who, where, in what capacity, so that burnout doesn't affect you the way that it does other people that don't have that balance.
I couldn't agree more. The only thing I would add on, I think Dr. Andonian hit the nail on the head. I always tell my residents, like, great, you're getting a job here. What else are you going to do with your job? What's your other part going to be? And I think the other part is EM is so flexible. You can do so many things and you can change. You can go work at urgent care. You can ramp up your hours. You can ramp down your hours. You can go back and get a fellowship. You can go doctors across borders. You can do sports medicine and work in a clinic. It's just the opportunities are endless. And if you find a career path that you're going down that doesn't fit exactly what you were looking for and is causing burnout, then change. And EM has the opportunity to change. With the training you have and the skills you'll get from going to any of these programs, you can do so many things. You're not locked into the job that you currently have. You can change, you can shift, and there's so much flexibility. So I agree with Dr. Andonian. You got to find another part of your job. And you know what? You're not locked into anything for the rest of your life. Get good training, have good skills, and you can do almost anything with this skill set in the job that you'll have through EM training.
Thank you so much for that input, Dr. Andonian and Dr. Bodkin. Something that definitely an interesting perspective. Okay, so moving on, we're going to hear from Dr. Kellogg at Ogden and Dr. Santikul at Garnet. Please feel free to correct me if I mispronounce anyone's names. And the next question that we're going to have are, what are the qualities your program is looking for in the residents, and what makes an applicant stand out for your program?
I guess I'll go first on that. I think I tell people that it's all about personality, right? ER is a team sport, and you want to work with people that you're excited to see every day. None of this is that academically challenging. If you're smart enough to get through medical school, you are more than smart enough to be an ER doctor. But if you haven't figured out how to be a good person by your late 20s, early 30s, that ship has probably sailed. And, so I'm really always thinking, is this somebody who at 2 a.m. when the poop is hitting the fan, I'm going to be like, thank goodness you are here, friend. And everything else we can figure out from there.
Thank you, Dr. Kellogg. Do we have Dr. Santikul with us still? If not, that's totally okay. We can move on to the next question. Okay. So next we're going to hear from Dr. Borenstein at Vassar and Dr. Dominguez at Lincoln. And the next question that we have is talking about rotations. So ideally, how many away rotations should an applicant have? Are they required? And how important are they to your program?
By away rotations, you're referring to the clerkship, senior clerkships?
Yes, usually during elective time when students can do like a sub-I at a different program other than their home institution.
So if you don't have a emergency medicine residency at your location, your medical school, usually the people will try to take two. Some people will take one at their home base and one away. Some people will take two away, particularly at locations that they are interested in, but sometimes depending on availability, you may have to, adapt to what rotations are available. I personally think two is a good number. I've seen people take three. I've seen people take one. I've interviewed candidates who haven't had an opportunity to do an emergency medicine clerkship. Sometimes that happens with international graduates. But I've also seen applications where people taking 3, 4. I personally think that's a bit too many because, there's a lot to learn in medicine and you're going to spend the rest of your life in emergency medicine. So personally, I like to see an opportunity for people to broaden their experiences in senior year, not just take only emergency medicine for, a few months. That's my personal view. There may be a lot of other perspectives too.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Because I'm my perception, but I kind of agree with Dr. Borenstein. If you have too many EM rotations, then you're not getting the full breadth of medicine itself. We take people, we look at people that have the core rotation and one or two outside rotations, but we want to see people who have letter recommendations from other fields also to see how well-rounded you are. Those are the kind of candidates we're interested in. Very well-rounded candidates who have the experience in different fields and are open-minded in that sense to help develop themselves further on.
Yeah, and if I could just add in, I mean, and I'm sure this probably goes for probably most or all of the program directors on the call tonight. We really try to give every application a holistic look. And the SLO is important. It really gives us a sense of, if emergency medicine is right for you and an opportunity for you to determine that for yourself. But an application, it's a very unique, every person has their own unique qualities, and that's what we try to find in the application process.
Thank you so much, Dr. Borenstein and Dr. Dominguez. Next, we'll be hearing from PDs and APDs from both of the Mount Sinai EM residency programs, so East Side and Morningside West. So Dr. Friedman, Grossman, and Dr. He. The next question that was submitted to us is, what components of the application do you find to be the most important regarding research, board scores, GPA, letter of recommendation, personal statement, etc.? How much emphasis and importance is placed on an applicant's personal statement?
I can tell you from like a personal perspective, and again, to the other points made, there may be different perspectives on how people view applications, but the SLOs are really a nice place to get the perspective of the applicants from my colleagues in emergency medicine. So that really is your time to shine. And I think there's like this old adage that like you're sort of like always auditioning sort of thing. And I don't think I ever take that in like a paranoid way, but like really use that time to sort of like learn as much as you can about the specialty, but also like show your passion, show your interest. And you'd be shocked at how many little moments people notice of you doing things for people on shift that end up coming through on a SLO. So I would say for me personally, far and away, that is like the piece my eyes go to. We look at all of it, and it is for us certainly a very holistic review. Like I read every personal statement, like we do all of those things, but I really want to hear how you flew in the emergency department.
I agree with Duncan. I think the other thing aside from the SLO is, you asked a little bit about research. I don't know if it necessarily has to be research by any means, but one of the things that I look for is commitment to something, and whether that is research or education or service or anything else really. I think it's really important to show that you're into something and that you have put a lot of time and effort into it and really have dedicated yourself to it. And frankly, what it is matters way less to me than the work that you've put into it.